Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. So today's video is one that I really wanted to do. Obviously it's a new channel, but I'm not going to have like a super long intro or anything like that. I'm just going to get straight into the video because I hate long intros. I feel like they really bore me to death. So I'm going to give you a quick overview of like my situation. So I went back to uni at 24. I'm now 28. I'm graduating this year. I'm so excited. I study law and I didn't do any A-levels, and the position that I'm in right now is that I've just applied for my bar course. So if you don't know what a bar course is, basically if you do a law degree, you've got two main pathways if you want to kind of practice law. So number one is doing an LPC and going to be a solicitor, and number two is doing the bar, and that's becoming a barrister. So that's the pathway that I want to go down. I just genuinely think that I would find that much more engaging, interesting, and that's just where I think my skills lie in like advocacy. So that's the position that I'm in now. So let's go back and throw it back to you. So if you're thinking about going back to education, that's so exciting. I remember like first realising that, okay, I can actually go back to education. I'm not stuck in this job. I don't have to be in this job forever. So that leads me on to the things that you'll need to know. Now this is just like a really broad overview of everything that I think you need to consider. The first thing I'm going to say is to avoid any negativity or negative thoughts that surround going back to education. Listen, I am not ever a fan of anyone telling me that I can't do something. Where there's a will, there's a way. I was working full time. I think if it's really something you want to do, then you know, you need to consider it and just try and ignore like any negativity towards it. I truly believe that if you want to do this, you can do this, and it is financially viable. The first things first, what I'd probably suggest is to go through your outgoings. Like, what are your outgoings? What could you cut back on? And work out roughly how much student loan you would get. So I got the full independent student loan, which when I first did my first year, I had to go and do foundation year because I didn't do any A-levels. I moved to London to do it because that was one of the unis that accepted me without any A-levels, and that I think I got like £11,000 a year, and for the first year. Then I moved back to Manchester after COVID happened, and my student loan went down to £9,000 a year because obviously I wasn't in the centre of London anymore. That's roughly like £3,000 every 3 months. So on top of that, I was working freelance because before going to my degree, I did work in marketing, so I was able to kind of do some social media management on the side and like focus mainly on my degree. Now obviously I know that's not viable for everybody to do that. However, if I couldn't have done that, I probably would have just got a part-time job, which I will come on to, I did do in my last year. This is my third year, so I've done 4 years in total. I couldn't keep on doing the self-employed life and the full-time uni because I wanted the security of a job, because after Christmas, I think it was 2021, it was just a really hard time to get any business, and I was getting really stressed, and like it just wasn't a good situation for anyone. So I started working part-time, still doing social media management, but at a hotel near my house. And then yeah, so I just did that basically to fund my life, pay my rent. And don't get me wrong, it can feel a bit like everybody else in your kind of age group is doing different things. They're away on holidays more, they're spending more money, like they're going out more often. You do have to sacrifice that a little bit. I'm not saying you have to sacrifice that 100%, but that is something you're going to have to sacrifice if you want to ultimately like make your life better by going back to education. Unfortunately, that's going to have to be the way it is. So I'd say just prepare yourself for that, because life will change a little bit in terms of financial situations. Yeah, it can feel crappy sometimes. I always like group back to, okay, why am I doing this? And then I feel fine. I'm like, fuck it, it's okay. It's only a temporary situation. And believe me, it goes so fast. So researching your chosen career path is just the most important thing. I was always like interested in how the legal system worked, how society was policed, and like I was interested in the police, I was interested in practicing law, I was interested in like true crime, I was interested in all that kind of stuff. But ultimately I didn't really know, like at the end of my degree, what did I want to do? And I'm not saying you necessarily know like exactly what you want to do after your degree, but basically because I want to be a barrister, it's actually quite an exclusive career in the sense that it's not very accessible if you are not from a wealthy background. If people like me who can't financially support themselves to do an extra year at uni because the cost is like £12,000, and on top of that you got your living expenses, you have to go through scholarship schemes with different ins and stuff like that, and it's not, you know, it's not necessarily guaranteed that you'll get that. So I recently applied for a scholarship, for a full coverage scholarship, and I had my interview like 2 weeks ago nearly, and I find out in 11 days whether I've got it, so I will let you know whether I got it. And if I get it, that means I can obviously amazingly go and do the bar, and then I'll have to like look at getting a pupillage after that. But yeah, definitely research the career path you want to go to, or like research the relevant or related things that you could do with that degree. So if the career path that you thought that you wanted maybe doesn't work out, or you decide, actually, I don't want to do that anymore, like what else could you do with your degree that would make you happy, or like what is a job that would make you happy? Because ultimately I always think of it like this, that you spend so much of your time at work, unfortunately. You've just got to be like happy in what you do. Like to be a happy person, you can't hate your job. And I remember how much I despised my job, and it made me a misery. Like to be around made me a misery. Even I didn't like being around me because I hated my job that much. I'd say as well that I'm a real advocate for going back to education, so I always see it in such a positive way. But education, it gives you a sense of belonging, of like being in a group, and you talk about things and topics that are really important. And it just really opens the door to new opportunities, and I honestly could not be more positive about it. I just think it's a fantastic thing to do. We live in a country where we have the means to do that, so utilize it. And yeah, I'll just finally say, like, just think about like what qualifications do you have now? Is there anything that you need to do pre-application to make your application stronger? Now that could be something like doing maybe a little bit of volunteer work relative to the field that you want to work in, or if you don't have time to do that because that's not always feasible, like I didn't do that, just play on the fact that you've had great experience in the professional field of like the world of work, because that's a really good thing to have, because not a lot of uni students actually go into the degree having the experience of having a full-time job and having worked in a career path or an industry. I actually went through clearing to apply for mine because I hadn't decided kind of whether I wanted to go back, and it was like, oh my god, should I apply? And I ended up applying through clearing in September, and I actually went to uni, like I think I was 2 weeks late in enrolling, so I was like there in October. So maybe figure it out like a little bit sooner than I did. But yeah, clearing is always an option. So do not worry, if you do not get in the first time, go through clearing, have a look at who accepts you without A-levels if you don't have A-levels. Oh, ow. Look at foundation courses, anything like that, just have a look. I do know that a lot of places will accept you if you haven't like completed your A-levels or anything like that, if you do a foundation year. So have a look, do your research, and ultimately just see it as a positive experience. But I'm going to wrap it up here. If you have any more like questions on anything that I've spoken about that's like a bit more niche down or like in depth on one certain thing, then I can 100% answer that. But I think that's the best kind of advice I would give if you're just thinking about it. It's such an exciting time, and I think it should be viewed as that. So if you have any questions, put them in the comments down below. I'll try my best to answer. I mean, I'm not an expert, but I can help you with the process that I've gone through it. So if everything's all still the same. But yeah, if you've enjoyed the video and you want to see kind of more from me, I don't just talk about education though, I will say that. This is more of a lifestyle channel, but this is such a big part of my life that I wanted to include it. So if you did like that and you want to be part of this community, then subscribe, and yeah, I'll see you next time.